All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Conservatish episode 190. My name is Peter Feliciano, and I am your host of Conservatish. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you rate this, review, share it with your less offendable friends, and make sure to find me on Instagram at Peter_Feliciano. You can find me, or at my backup account at Conservatish. You can find me on TikTok at Peter_Feliciano. You can find me on Facebook, on Twitter at Rule62Peter, and wherever you're listening. Yeah, again, leave a review, rate it, share it. Anything else? Oh, patreon.com/Conservatish. I've got more music coming out soon because I'm the hardest working man in the world. And God, that chair is creaking to death. What is wrong with you?
Me?
Yes,
I got this for free $99 out in front of a really rich person's home.
Just like a black guy going through.
Hey, I will avoid moving around too much.
All right, thank you, sir.
No problem.
And I've got music and also more merch coming in. I think I'm going to do it in August 1st. So keep an eye out. And ladies and gentlemen, we are blessed, we are privileged, we are half white privileged to have Nico back on the show. Yay!
What's up, everyone? Hi, I'm happy to be back. This is awesome.
This is your third time.
Yes, the charmer. And the timing for all of these visits have been crazy. I was going to say beforehand, you met with me while I was in grad school becoming a teacher and dealing with my frustrations there. Then you got me right when I finished, and then the pandemic happened, and there was a summer of riots and racial animosity. And now we're at the summer, and I don't know if you can agree with this, but I feel a sense of leisure. It's really weird, at least in terms of the things you and I are always concerned about. I don't know if you have a different take on that.
No, I agree. Yeah. I mean, I find that I'm much more at peace about it. I think for a couple of reasons. Number one, I see a lot of people. I know this is going to sound real gay at the very start, but it is what it is. I think a lot of people are waking up. I think a lot of people fucking are. It just is happening. It just is happening. And maybe it's my echo chamber, but I am surrounded by tons of people of color and even sneaky little white liberals who follow me, who like a random post like, oh, you like that? Okay, all right, I see you. Like, who are waking up to the fact that current day liberalism is off its fucking chain, and that identity politics is the devil, and how nuanced and complicated this life thing is.
Yeah.
So I think it's partially that, and partially because of taking care of myself, and things opening up, and lots of different things. What do you think?
I don't know. I really felt with that video that, thank you again for putting that on your channel, by the way. With putting out that video, there's so many times I want to say stuff about how frustrated I am with at least the current political climate, but I always held off on it. And when the summer came, I was just noticing I was seeing more videos in my feed, and it could be the algorithm of YouTube, but I kept seeing parent fights off CRT at their local school board goes off, and then it's just all of this stuff. And I'm like, well, timing seems right. I mean, I'll get my 20 views, but I feel at peace releasing that material. Now, in my day-to-day life, in my personal life, I don't know. I wonder if the climate is different out in New York, because I still see a lot of BLM posters outside of people's windows or outside of really expensive grocery outlets. They'll just have it right there greeting you as you come in, and also in schools. But I don't know. I feel like more people are, quietly disagreeing. Not as loud as I like for them to, but the vibe in California is still California at the end of the day. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. Are you seeing less and less BLM posters around?
I am. I mean, in New York, there hasn't really been, again, exactly the same thing. and that's why I think I beat the drum so much on this show, is that it's really only well-off white motherfuckers who are pushing that stuff. It's well-off white motherfuckers and a couple of black, unhinged, college-aged females.
Yeah, they're usually younger. Yeah.
Yeah, usually younger. So a few, old enough to buy houses with Black Lives Matter money. But
yeah,
in general, I think mostly it's white people who are doing that. It's white people who are moving that message along.
So what is your thought on the minorities that push for this grievance, push for these grievance kind of studies? Because I will not go into the name calling shit of Uncle Tom. No, you're an Uncle Tom. No, you're an Uncle Tom. That's just no one wins. But I can, from my perspective of being that before, it's almost like it's a void filler. They're trying to fill a void with this sense of purpose. Self-righteousness feels great.
It really does. It really does. Bullying feels good, especially getting the attention, getting the complete blank check for any behavior, any thoughts, any ideas. You're never wrong because everyone around you, all these scared white allies around you, are writing a blank check for anything you do, anything you believe. That's intoxicating. What's that old Patrice thing? Absolute. I mean, it's everywhere. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. Right.
Oh, I thought you were going to quote the white slave bit.
What's the white slave bit?
No, when he's like, man, when Obama won, I thought for sure by now I'd have a white slave at least.
Right. Go up and warm my bed, Susan.
that documentary. That's the whole nother 10. That's a documentary of Patrice on Comedy Central was really good.
Oh, it was?
Yeah. You can get it for free. You can just go on the website. It's a shame they only put it on Comedy Central and not the actual, I don't know, Netflix, because that's a good documentary. He needs his story out there.
I think he needs his story out there, and I haven't seen it, only really mostly because it's on Comedy Central, and also because I'm a little annoyed that Patrice hated Comedy Central. Like, the executives there fucked him multiple times. Like, now you're all like, oh, yeah, here's the other reason why I don't like it, and we'll get back to the other stuff.
Yeah.
But listen, if you're listening to this, if you're a fan of Conservatish and Peter Feliciano, and you don't hear about Patrice ONeil at least once every episode, come on, let's be real.
Yeah.
But the reality is that he worked so hard to do what he did, and they went a complete different direction. I was talking about it in a paper a couple of weeks ago. Comedy Central used to do tough crowd. They used to do, edgy shit. The most edgy thing that they do now is, look, drugs. Isn't that funny? Other people get high too. Wow. And that's mainstream. No. That's not edgy. So they went in a different direction. They went in woke direction. Okay. And yet now they're going to prop Patrice up as if, look at this thing we used to like. Isn't that great? Anyway, let's continue to just Black Lives Matter. White people are the devil. So I don't like looking back at powerful, valuable art in a nostalgic way if you're just gonna keep fucking us towards that direction.
Yeah. It's they're I don't know, they're doing what Disney did with Star Wars with Patrice. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Where it's just, I know what you don't really care about this stuff, but back to what we were talking about with the seeing the BLM all over the place and getting more people to talk. I mean, I see it on your shirt. It's okay if we disagree on politics. In the course,
which you can buy at peterfeliciano.com.
There you go. And I was gonna say, in the course of, let's say, this year, specifically, we can go back to the summer. Have any of your friendships been strained due to conversations around this? And do you try to take into accountability your own input into those exchanges? Because I for sure have.
I always take into accountability. I'm not saying because I'm like Mr. Spiritual, but I do have a spiritual practice, and I do. I'm very introspective, and I do work on myself a lot. So when I make a mistake, it happens. I know everyone listening right now is, Peter Feliciano makes mistakes. I know, boys and girls. But when I do, I find I'm pretty good at cleaning it up. pretty right away. Not because I'm Mother Teresa, but because I've practiced it long enough. So on my end, sometimes it is difficult to keep my mouth shut or whatever. But as far as strained relationships, I have a friend who is kind of a mentor around some of that spiritual stuff. And I said that I told him that I went to a gun range, because he's from Houston, and he's gay, but he's from Houston, and he grew up with that shit. And I told him I went to a gun range for the first time, and he's like, "Cool. Did you shoot any Republicans?"
Oh no.
Like, here's the thing. And I've talked about it too on the show, but like, I have never, ever had someone assume that I'm a Republican. I've never had anyone assume that I voted for Trump.
You're lucky. You're lucky.
All liberals assume that everyone's like me. Everyone's like me. I'm a liberal and everyone's like me because there's someone I know. So I can bring politics ham-handedly. I can muscle politics into this conversation in order to assume, in order to keep up with the Joneses into believing, agreeing with me and proving that you agree with me. I've never had anybody assume, isn't it crazy? Isn't it crazy what Nancy Pelosi did? Like, everyone, whether it be at a cafe or wherever the fuck, in regular conversation, me and this dude, we have a friendship, and we have a good friendship based on spirituality and introspection and all that shit, which is good, and it is what it is. I have never brought politics into it. Yes, I have opinions. Of course I have opinions. I started a show so I could fucking rant. But no, I never go, isn't it crazy because that's fucking rude. It's rude, regardless of what side, right? But it's always liberals who assume. It's always, and I think it comes down to a base immaturity. I think it comes down to an emboldened self-centeredness, right? So some of my relationships have been straight, but even when he texted that, I didn't have to go, well, actually, because
damn, man. So you played that smart. At least you did that, avoiding any collateral damage. I mean, he's
not going to listen to me anyway,
And that's the thing I come to grapple with, even with going through school, is just how much power do you really have over changing someone's opinion? And I got to a point where I'm like having all these facts in my head, and I'm like, no, if you don't want to hear it, it doesn't matter if I say it to you. So I'm in this territory, especially if assuming I'm talking to the liberal that you're describing. Well, you're not challenging me, therefore I'm right. Or you are just ignorant and not paying attention to the world. Those are the only two options in their head. And it frustrates me because it treats me like a child. The example that comes to my head immediately, I had a friend who I was talking about my concerns with teaching social studies in the way that I'm being nudged to teach it as. And all I was trying to make was the point that, look, there's nothing wrong with covering slavery in America. If I were to teach it, I would cover it with the backdrop of slavery being practiced across the world for centuries and millennia prior to the first slave stepping in the United States. So that way I can teach the kids that I'm not teaching them that slavery is a white thing. I'm teaching them that slavery is a human vice. And that's less judgmental, but it's still critical of it. And he just wasn't having it. And we got into the discussion of some politics of defund the police. And I said my concerns about that. And he cut me off, and he just was like, look, if you're just going to spew Republican talking points at me, then you can not have it. Look, I'm happy to talk politics with you, but if you don't want to listen to what I have to say, then go ahead, listen to your Republican stuff. And I just said, okay, buddy, we're done. And I haven't talked to him since, because that's his own journey. I'll end that there. It's like, that's kind of his own journey.
Black guy or white guy?
White guy, socialist. Right. He made that clear in the conversation twice. Socialist.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
if you can, yeah, go ahead.
No. I mean, I think it's a human thing.
Yeah.
I've definitely seen lots of immature, childish Republicans.
Yeah.
But I do find that if you're they go to the talking points thing a lot. They do, because they're used to regurgitating the talking points of the fucking left. That's why. Because someone daily Trevor faggot ass Noah. It is conservatish. You can turn it off, dum dums. I don't need your follows. I'm me. Okay. They listen to fucking Trevor Noah, and Trevor Noah will say shit like that because they don't really have any. I'm happy to talk politics, is what he said. What he really meant was, you're not changing your mind, Nico. You need to change your mind because I feel something. That's what it was.
Yeah. And a lot of people across the board on issues, there's this tendency to use that as the basis of their argument. Mm-hmm. And I remember the last time I was on here, I was shitting on Ben Shapiro's slogan, not him, just the slogan of facts don't care about your feelings. But man, if I lived in a world where people just felt their beliefs and never explored them on their own, that sounds terrible. That sounds terrible. And it's you to never address your blind spots out of fear of your shortcomings is a disservice to you, and then it's going to be to everyone around you. Yeah.
I wouldn't even say that they don't explore it based on fear. I think some of them do, but I think it really is, especially the whites, it goes down to, I don't want to be a bad person.
Yeah.
I'm scared that I'm not going to be liked. So I'm just going to believe what I'm told, especially from the Black Instagram accounts that I follow, especially from the Black stars that I follow. I'll do whatever John Legend and dum-dums like him want me to do. I'll believe LeBron James. I'll vote fucking whatever China wants me to vote, because I don't want to be bad. And because also I'm distracted with life. Life is heavy. Life is complicated. We're out here trying to fucking live, right? And so you and I have found a balance of knowing how to live, how to take care of ourselves, and also how to dip into, why do I believe these things? Am I being told the truth, et cetera, et cetera. But that's a journey, like you said, that everybody has to do on their own.
And it's daily maintenance of that. Like I'm always, I mean, I get tired sometimes with learning or reading about race. But I always keep my toes in the water, just because if I just ignore it, then I'm resting on, well, I've read everything, so you don't need to tell me anything. And that's not good. And to bolster your point of white people being afraid of repercussion for just saying the wrong thing. When I was in my school, there was a situation where I guess on the first day of school, the kids were kind of, the assignment for this, I think it was first or second grade, but the assignment given was, if you could write down a rule that everyone in the world has to follow, what would you write? And this one kid wrote, I would write, or my rule would be no stealing, because there were a lot of Black people stealing things from Target over the summer, and I can't, and that's not good. And so, the white teacher didn't know how to handle it. Oh, no, she did. She or he, I don't even know who did it. But they handled it by just saying, "Oh, that's an interesting point." So she focused on what the rule was. Okay, no stealing. You're right. Fine. No stealing. Stealing's bad. It happens and affects everyone. There was a Black student in the class, and that parent complained to the principal saying, this is unacceptable. These matters of the Black community should only be discussed within the Black community. How dare this family say that, and then the teacher not throw the book at this family. And it all resulted with that Black family just removing their kid from the program and finding another place where that kid can be placed among people like him. And I was sitting talking to the principal, and I'm just like, So the parent overreacted, uprooted the kid, and put them in a place where kids just look like him, therefore everything is solved. That's very short-sighted. And the principal agreed, but didn't do anything about it. And it's kind of just, I don't know. That's why I wanted to ask you, because we talk about the white liberals, but then I see the families of minorities that they tap into this grievance shit, and it's powerful. That family just removed the kid just like that. I'm out. I heard one mean thing, one terrible thing, and I'm out.
One mean thing, one terrible thing from a fucking first grader, second grader. You know?
Yeah.
So I think, as far as the grievance thing, because I've asked that question in a ham-handed way on the show before, like, who bothers you more, white liberals or the black liberals who are taking advantage of it? I think the grievance, the advantage that they're taking on the grievance angle is partially because it feels good, partially because it was it a mom?
Yeah, black mom.
Okay, surprise. That bitch hasn't come in a long time.
Damn.
Let's be real. Okay? when you're was her child a daughter or a son?
I don't know. Okay, I just know black child.
Okay, I'm gonna take a step in the dark. I'm gonna take a step in the dark that it was a daughter. When you have boys, you understand a little more of the oomph that life can have, and I think when you have orgasms on a regular basis, you take better care of yourself, and you're less Karen. That chick was a black Karen, so that's number one. Number two, or maybe that's number two. Number three, I just, what do you think the grievance is? It's something. I mean, if you get the messaging over and over, I guess it would make sense that you would take advantage of that, right? I mean, that's what the white people are doing.
I would say I would get this. I've been following. This is a doctor out of Penn State. Her name's Amy Wax, and she likened this relationship of playing the victim to, imagine, okay, black people are the victims of a hit and run, complete negligence by this driver, wrecked you, hit you hard, and you went to the doctors and they said, look, you are damaged and it's going to require incredible work to get better. You take this driver to court. They fully admit to everything they did. The judge punishes them to the absolute letter of the law, in terms of they pay you all the money. They do their time, whatever. But at a certain point, there is nothing that driver can do to make you go to rehab and better yourself. Because like they can give you more money. All right, you still have to do the hard work of rehabbing yourself. They can't literally hold your legs and have you go through it for them. So it's the victim in that situation has every right to be angry. There is evidence of recklessness and harm done by a person, but that does nothing to benefit you with each evidence you bring up. It's kind of that. Like if I was the parent in that situation of that kid, I'd just talk to my child on the side and be like, this issue is very layered. There was a riot. There were people of our skin color robbing and taking and looting. It comes from pain. We don't tolerate looting of any kind, riot and violence of any kind. These people didn't do that because they were black people in a white man's world. They did that because they were just, I say, impulsive, short-sighted, and opportunistic.
Right.
Opportunistic.
Selfish cunts.
Yeah. I mean, you could say that too. I can't. Do I really believe that the means of getting your way in America it's so limited that you have to riot? do I really have to riot to get my voice heard? Are you? I can't believe that there are so many limited options in my life that I have to do that. And I wonder if there's people from lower income areas who also feel the same. It's like, I don't need to do this shit.
Well, of course there is. See, that's what I always say. Like, people say, well, black people, maybe they're more into stealing, or they're more responsible for crime because they're poor. Well, but most poor people don't steal.
Yeah.
Why are these people not choosing to steal, but these people, the minority in that minority, why are they choosing to steal and the other ones aren't? Right? It's another, not just the lowered expectations thing. It's I think white liberals essential at the very basis. I think they really are fucking racist. Black people can't figure out how to use the internet. Black people can't figure out where the DMV is. Oh, gee golly, all they know how to do is pick cotton. It really is an essential, I think, racism, and they overextend their guilt to cover all of that genuine racism and that separation, and that's why they make up for it and all that. I'm gonna, you know what I'm saying? Do you understand what I'm saying?
I agree. I'm just trying to think of a devil's advocate, because they'd hear your point and then they'd say, well, so you're admitting that there's white supremacy in this world and that it's destroying the lives of black people?
I don't think it's destroying the lives of black people. No. I'm saying, go back to where, what did I just say?
So you were saying that, you know, the whites are acting this way, and it's kind of an expression of racism. Yes, it's done in this very patronizing way, but it's like a morphed, instead of hatred, it's this super, and I'll say, so I call it the bigotry of the soft bigotry of low expectations, and it's morphed into that. So you're on the opposite end of the pendulum, but you're still viewing.
I kind of want to say that. Yeah, I don't think it's all of it. Again, I think the basis of all of it is fear, and I think that what we do on this show and on my main goal is exposing, so that we can all just remember that we're all human and we're all goofy and we're all fucked and whatever. But I do want to say a piece of it is white supremacy. I do, and maybe
giving them ammo, man.
And maybe a piece of me wants to do that, because I really believe the only way to shock these dumb motherfuckers out of where they're at is to use their white guilt against them. I think that's the only.
I can agree with you there.
You cannot reason with someone who's unreasonable. You, Nico, a half black person, show that white socialist, okay, who obviously doesn't fuck at all. You showed him all. You from your experience, you have black fucking skin, and you showed him blah 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 blah, and he said you're just regurgitating. He's not reasonable. You can't reason with someone who's unreasonable. Unreasonable only listens to fear. Unreasonable only listens to fear. So showing them, hey, you're lame, you're a square, you're a fucking white supremacist. If you're a liberal, hey, if that at least moves them to start doing their own research, hallelujah. I don't care what tool I need to do.
So what does the white person do in your lay of the land? Because on one hand, they can be Ku Klux Klan racist, or they are what we're seeing today of just very, 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 very condescending racism. So it's like they're stuck between a rock and a hard place. What do you think is the best avenue for white people out of this?
I think they need to know more black people.
No more black people? Isn't the argument? Sorry. I'm go ahead.
When you know more black people, when you know more people of any, classification, you start to realize how complicated they are. You start to have enough black friends that you realize, oh, I don't like this motherfucker. This guy's a piece of shit. He's selfish. He hasn't done the work to heal. Whatever you want to call it. When you know enough black people, you're like, oh, this guy likes country music. Oh, this guy voted Trump. Oh, this guy. And you start to see the complications, and you can't put them in boxes as often as you do. I think that's part of the solution, a big part.
I mean, so what do you run into, or how do you I guess, observe the minorities that are, because you said to me that I use my experience as this multiracial guy to share my ideas. What about the person that does the opposite, the other thing where it's like, well, I'm black, man. I've lived in a terrible life, opportunities limited to me. I know racism. I lived through it. It's kind of, I don't know. You can take resting on your experience. And I guess here's the question I can ask from it. Do you think a part of it is performative?
I think a part of it is performative, and I think it is definitely ham-handed and not something you should stand on. But if it's what shocks these dumb cunts into listening, fuck it. In a way, if it moves so that the ideas can get through, great. That's my main thing. So when I was saying that when you were talking to that white socialist, what I'm pointing out by that is that he's not playing by his own rules. He's not playing by his own rules. His own rules is just listen to black people. He's not just listening to black people. He's not doing it, right? So pointing that out helps those of us who are frustrated see like, oh, this is what I see. This is why it bothers me. This is why this hypocrisy makes me feel powerless, right? And it also hopefully helps the people who are in the middle, who are on the side, who voted for Biden, who aren't nut jobs, go like, oh, that is kind of an interesting idea. And it helps move something loose. If it moves something loose, I kind of feel like use whatever tools you want. Are you saying that it should all be from logic? Because I don't see that working.
No. You got to have heart. I mean, the passion's got to... I delved into doing that video and just all the shit I went through because of my passion for these ideas. I had some sense of feeling. If I didn't feel anything about these issues, I probably wouldn't have talked to you on the podcast, because it's just, I feel I would have probably been very aimless, just shiftless, to be honest. You need some sense of passion to get you through the door of thinking.
Right. And not just passion, but also I think you kind of need to have a little, not flair, shit. Although I do have a lot of flair. Buy my merch. I think you need to have a little bit of shock from time to time too. You need to use whatever tools are at your disposal to get your ideas through the door, right? Because logic alone is not working. Ideas alone, it's not working for these people, right?
No.
I mean, last year when they were saying, and I definitely want to get to some of the details of your experience. But as far as to close or to start putting a button on this part, they can easily, the liberals in general can easily, last year they were saying, just listen to black people, white people don't get to have a say about the riots. Being anti-riot is racist, right? And then all these black people and all these, I've done it. I've ham-handedly just poured all this fucking black non-liberals onto my show because fuck you. I will never let them forget that, because that is the most dangerous thing. If you want to say Rush Limbaugh, you're a piece of shit, or Republican talking points, fine. But the minute you say a whole race of people don't get to have a say in a conversation, fuck you. The minute you discount someone based on their identity alone, you're not a good person. You're not a good person. And so I will keep pushing that thing. But that's why when they switched over, because conveniently then Lil Wayne, 50 Cent, right? Even Ice Cube, who was not saying he was voting Trump, he was saying, I'm talking with both people, trying to get this thing pushed through, trying to have conversations, and they still vilified him, right? So obviously, just listen to black people didn't mean a fucking thing. So then hopefully enough of that can move people who are in the middle, who are reasonable, move that along and help them see, oh, something's deeper here happening. Why do I believe the things why does my side believe the things that we do, right?
Yeah.
Because they can easily discount any black guy on Fox News who's trying to like reason with motherfuckers.
It's crazy because like now that I'm removed from any allegiances to either side, a lot of people that I genuinely like have appeared on Fox News before. And it's not that they were a Fox News host; they were just on Fox News.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's. Yeah, I agree with you. That's odd. People will immediately in my shelf back there, I have that book, The Fox Effect.
What's the Fox Effect?
It's just it was made by Media Matters, which now is not a neutral think tank at all, but it's a whole book shitting on how dishonest Fox News was and what it's doing to America.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
No, yeah.
So what was one of the first things you realized? Obviously, you had your experience, and we talked about it. If you haven't watched Nico's first 2 episodes, please do. But we talked about when you were some of the things especially one of the things we focused on your last episode, or maybe the other one, was the fact that you felt more uncomfortable, or you faced more racist issue stuff, not in Wisconsin, where there's apparently the stereotype is everyone's an evil white racist, whatever, especially Kenosha, whatever.
Yeah.
But you felt, what was it? Put it in your own words versus the people in Santa Clara.
Oh, so I went to school for my undergrad in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, at Marquette, and I wrote a paper, and I think the student population that were minority for the last 10 years from when I wrote it was consistently less than 7% of the student population. And I immediately was like, evidence of racism. And when I graduated, I said, this is awful. I just graduated from a school that didn't care about my race and my culture. This is bad. And went back to California. A couple of years later, I went to grad school. And when I was scouting out schools at San Jose State, they have the Black Power Fist 68 Olympics in the Central Mall. And I saw that, and I'm like, this is the school I need to go to. And a month, 2 months into the semester, I went from the school didn't care about me to I'm going to a school where people treat me as if I broke out of slave chains yesterday. And the latter is much worse because they're so nice and
patronizing.
Yeah, it's just patronizing. And everything that I produced work-wise was nudged in the direction of, okay, what are you mad about? Here is a list of things that you can be mad about. It's like school to prison pipeline, all this stuff. And I thought, now that we're updated after that I'm done with that, I thought that was going to be my experience. It ends at the school, but yeah, it turns out wherever I go to work, at least in California, it's just an extension of the campus. And that's been made very clear by the amount of professional developments that are mandatory for us to take that center around, or at least just jammed in there, institutional racism and at least anti-racism ideology. I won't say critical race theory because I don't feel confident enough in giving a specific definition on what that is. I can specifically say that anti-racism and Ibram X. Kennedy's work is being suggested strongly to the new wave of teachers coming in. And I can give an example. Like you have to, as a new teacher, you have to attend 2 of those professional development meetings that they give at the county level. And I went to arts integration. I actively avoided the racial stuff, the anti-racism stuff. And I went to art integration. There's no way that can be bad. Show up to the Zoom, and this lady shows a picture of, it looks like a very modern art museum with a spiral staircase, and in the center there's this giant ring with a lotus, like paper mache lotus in the middle. She's like, what do you see? People say, oh, I see the staircase, I see the colors, the frames. And then she zooms in more. Now you can just see the metal ring with the lotus, and it's a little more clear. You can see the definition in all the paper. And now people are saying, oh, I see the lotus is made of a very thin paper. Oh, I see the ring is a little rusted. Zooms into exactly on a petal, and it's slaves on a boat. It's the petals are made of, they're not some intricate design. They're just slaves lying down on a boat. And the point that she drove home was, as you can see, art can be shown, it can be used to showcase some truths that we don't want us to understand in this world. But we need to acknowledge that racism has been a very serious problem in America for the past whatever years. And I was like, what? You just use that as a jumping off point? I'm the only black guy in this meeting, or brown skinned person in this meeting. There is like an Asian there. Then they go into this next slide where it shows representation in children's books. Here is the percentage of protagonists in children's books that are white, like 90%. And black animals are at 4%. Black people are at 1%. That's racist. And I interrupted. I'm like, when I was growing up, I didn't care about how the character in books looking like me. I idolized Bruce Lee because he was Bruce fucking Lee. I like Lucille Ball because she was funny as shit. They had nothing to do with how they appeared. And what was really weird was in private, when they put us in the breakout rooms, people would agree with me. But when we get back into it, the main room, they would always just go right to answering the right question. And I hate that about the school atmosphere, in that teachers tend to act like good students. And I hate the good student. I love what the good student does, but the good student will always answer the yes or no question with the answer that the teacher is asking or looking for. They won't push any buttons. They'll just do what they need to get to the finish line in good graces. And that's how this, at least from my vantage point, that's how this idea is infiltrated through the educational institutions. It's a lot of, I hate to say this, meek. I've had to say it because I've gotten so angry. I'm like, cowardly teachers, individuals that just don't say what they really feel to this idea that they're being told to believe. I was so angry at that meeting because after that slaves on a boat thing, then there's this TED talk with this black guy. I don't know, you'll probably find it, but he's like an artist. He has a deep V cut, like deeper than this V cut, nothing underneath it, just a light shirt. And he's like, I'm an artist and I want to show you guys this piece of art I did. And he's at a shooting range and he has these beautiful African, like tribal wooden statues. And he's like, here's my art. And he's shooting. It's a video of him just shooting those wooden statues. And he's like, I'm trying to suggest how it feels so powerful to destroy these things. And it's captivating. And I'm like, holy shit. And I told the person running the meeting, white woman, I said, there's no way that this person speaks for me or even for all of us. That's not fair. And at the end of, basically saying what we say to each other all the time, she's like, well, I am not a person of color and I'm learning along the way. And, thank you. It's just this awkward, you come in so aggressive. And then the second, well, at least this person of color questions you, tuck your tail.
And that's what I want to piece apart right there. That is how we get the fucking foot in the door.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but it fucking is.
Yeah.
Use their white guilt against them, okay? Because it's the only thing they're listening. It's the only thing they're listening to. I would bet good fucking money, maybe that white chick, she's learning along the way from a select amount of teachers, because she does not know the breadth and the width and the nuance and the deepness of the black experience. I was talking with some dumb motherfucker. I love him to death. He's a wonderful person, off of Facebook. Um, but I keep sharing these fucking, whatever. And he was like, well, but the black experience, and I all I put was,
what is it?
I put a quotations around the black experience. I left that comment because fuck you, motherfucker. The black experience doesn't exist. The black experience doesn't fucking exist. Yeah. It just doesn't. And I would guarantee that the white teachers or the black teachers or the fat, unfuckable black bitches who have come in, you need to respect me. Let's all blah blah blah. Those fucking people are the reason why those white people, who are the majority, and they're not the majority because there's an equal number of black people and an equal number of white people. White people are the majority because they're 60% of the goddamn country, and black people are only 14%. So can you stop? Can you fucking calm down? Can it make sense? If you're playing the percentages game, dum-dums. So we're at that level. And yet these black people who have risen to this, these white, black, unfucked women have risen to this place where they're swaying these well-meaning white people by the nose. Yeah. The only way to get those fucking hands off those noses is to say, hey, dum-dum with the nose, look over here. Look over here. You're being led astray. And if we need to do that through identity politics, fuck it. Fuck it. I'll do whatever I need to. Because that shit needs to die. That shit needs to die.
Fight identity politics with identity politics?
Fuck it. Yep. I don't give a fuck. Do you understand why though? Am I making myself like am I at least conveying how to get our foot in the door? Because think about it. You even being that guy, you questioned them. They came in strong. They came in aggressive. And then the minute
I see what you're saying.
They tuck their tail, right?
Yeah.
How intoxicating that would be to you, Nico, if you were a piece of shit.
No, I get what you're saying now. Because even when I was making that video, like I said at the start, I hate that I have to preface my ideas by listing that I'm black and Filipino and my mom's an immigrant and my dad's from the hood. Why does that matter? But I guess it does. So I'll share it to you because it makes you feel safer. I thought you were just like, but my first reaction was, are you meaning get all these white people that agree like this we'll label them and then cast them aside?
No.
No. I know you weren't. I was just
the antidote to fear is connection. Yeah, I believe the antidote to fear is connection. I think again, when you know more black people, when you know more people of whatever classification, you can understand, you connect with them more, and you understand, oh, I'm not less than because I'm white. I'm not better than because I'm black. I'm not less than because I'm black. I'm not less than, you know what I'm saying? Better than because I'm, you understand that people, the individual is the most important thing, right? Because I've known real pieces of shit who are black and real pieces of shit who are white. And I've known wonderful people who are black and wonderful people who are white. Connection is the antidote. And if I need to shock people into letting go of that fucking identity politics gun through identity politics, fuck it. I don't want to pass anybody aside. I want us all in the boat. I want us all fucking moving forward. We've got more important shit to do. You know what I mean? You ever listen to Bill Hicks?
Yeah.
Yeah, Bill Hicks. I mean, he wasn't all that funny, but like he made some incredibly important points. One of the things he said is like, we've got bigger fish to fry. We should be out in space. You know what I mean? Like we should be thinking, we should be evolving, but you're wanting to tamp us down into this not just unsustainable, satisfying, insatiable hole. You're wanting to keep us in identity politics. You're wanting to keep us in racism. Like that, we did that. Like
Nigerians are out earning white Americans by a lot. Indians are in the top. Asians are in the top.
Yeah.
The wage gap between whites and those races is just as the same as blacks to whites. So what's this? That's why I say, what's white supremacy in a world where in America where white people are like 5th on the list, 6th on the list? That doesn't seem like supremacy.
No, it doesn't. In fact, Thomas Sowell put it perfectly yesterday. He said, or he didn't say it yesterday, but it's a Thomas Sowell quote, and I'll fucking just read it verbatim.
Please do. Please do.
I love Thomas so goddamn much.
He helped me a lot through this year.
He said, Thomas Sowell said, we are told that riots are a result of black poverty and white racism. But in fact, for those who still have some respect for facts, black poverty was far worse and white racism was far worse prior to 1960. But violent crime within black ghettos was far less.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so if I need to say, hey guys, a black guy said this in order to get their fucking ears open, I don't give a fuck. I do not care, because we'll talk ideas till we're blue in the face once you're fucking listening.
So I'm always bracing myself for what happens when I have to say these things to a person of my color, because you could probably go tit for tat if someone hears what you just said. Well, a black person told me this experience, and then it's like, okay, then what? How do you end that?
At the very least, you end that, or you. That's how we at least level the playing field.
Yeah.
At the very least, you say, but a different black person said this, right? Oh, so I guess we shouldn't only listen to black people, huh? I guess we shouldn't. I guess they're not morally unquestionable just because of their skin. Okay, yeah. Good. Now we're there. Now we're at the ideological equal. So now what's in the door? Now we can talk about ideas. You know.
Yeah. I'm worried because as I was looking at schools to work at, there were schools that were it was creepy. There was one that was predominantly Latino, and they said, hey, I hope you know that we're a school of equity. We believe in equity. And our students may not look like, the typical good student, but they bring something special to this table. It's very creepy. And it's not just that school, because I was seeing it in some applications for other schools where there was one where it specifically asked, what cultural experiences or multicultural experiences have you had in your life? Please list them here. And I'm just like, and that's going to be the dynamic that I'll run into in the future that I'm not looking forward to, of having to argue against someone of my color, because then it's going to be name calling. On their end, I won't name call, but I'll be called Uncle Tom, sellout. You don't know anything about the black. You came from the suburbs. What the fuck do you know? Yeah.
Dinesh D'Souza had another quote. He said, yes, critical race theory is anti-white, but it's also anti-black. Why? Because built into it is the assumption that blacks are inferior. Blacks can't read. Blacks can't do math. Blacks can't get IDs. Blacks can't show up on time. Basically, blacks can't compete in American society. And, and I had a wonderful experience at the gun range the other day. I had a wonderful experience at the gun range where only maybe 35% of the people at the gun range were white. The majority were black. There was a sprinkling of Asians and even some Indian motherfuckers. I saw an Indian bitch with a gun. That's nice. Amazing. That's amazing. God bless her fucking heart, man.
Yeah.
And yet they can't compete, but they are competing.
They are
competing. They are competing, and they're kicking fucking ass. Why are this certain class of black people told that they are not winning? I believe it's because they keep getting told that they fucking can't. And they're surrounded culturally, mentally, especially with the lack of motherfucking fathers. Surprise, surprise, when femininity loses its fucking mind, of course it's going to go all from emotion. Of course. Because we don't have any goddamn black fathers. And a lack of black fathers begets a lack of black fathers begets a lack of black fathers, because I don't see it anywhere else around me, and nobody's willing to have a fucking strong conversation with me. And when the only structure that's in my life, hello, goddamn teachers, when the only structure that's in my life as a black male without a fucking father, either my mother is extra abusive in order to keep me in fucking line, okay?
Yeah.
And or the only structure is teachers. And when teachers go, you're right, because you're black and I'm just a little old white person, I don't know your experience. You're so brave. You're setting these kids up for fucking failure. You're setting these kids up to riot, to loot. You're setting these kids up as separate. Fuck you. Fuck you.
I see that as a community, because in that recipe of a shit childhood, you listed so many multiple parties around that kid that aren't just the teachers. It's a community problem, and I'll tell you this story in Baltimore. It's fucked up. So, Baltimore school district per student has among the highest most money per student. They have a lot of money. Super poor district. Crazy. I know, it's crazy. But there was this story of a student who, upon reaching the senior year, was told you have to repeat the whole high school again. And when the mom found out, she's like, wait, what? How come I didn't know? Blah, blah, blah. Turns out, after further investigation, that student had a total of about around 200 tardies and absences in those 4 years. Every class that he failed, he ended up passing. They created the next class for him. He went, failed, didn't. In that whole 4 years, only 2 teachers reached out with a request to have a parent-teacher conference with that mother. The cumulative GPA of that student at the end of the 4 years was not 0.1, 0.05. Here's the crazier thing, that at the end of that 4 years, even with the 0.05 GPA cumulative, that student was in the middle of his class. That is a community problem. That's not that school is shit for passing students, like just through the mill, like whatever. We just need to keep them going. How is the mother not involved? And as a teacher, I hate that as much as the helicopter parent, the elusive parent that comes in when shit goes wrong. And then, I don't know about the father background, but that might be a factor. All of these things, that's unacceptable. That's super unacceptable. And it's because you can't check these kids. They come from hard circumstances. How could you expect them to hold them to a standard? That is ruthless of you. Do you not acknowledge the plight that their people have gone through?
I'll add again, the same thing with Patrice used to say it all the time. But again, the problem is an unwillingness to have uncomfortable conversations.
Yeah.
To be a good parent, to be a good teacher, sometimes you have to lay down the motherfucking law. And that's going to make you unpopular sometimes. Yeah. Tough shit. You're going to be called names. You're going to be, doesn't fucking matter. If you're in my motherfucking class, if you're under my motherfucking roof, it's going to go like this. You can feel free to go somewhere else. You can cry to your mom and ask her to send you to a different class or a different this. But if you're with me, this is the way we're going to do it. And
I get so, yeah.
And here's the fucked up part.
Yeah.
John Cleese put it perfectly. He said because he did some teaching in his book, he talks about it. The thing about, he said, it's very much like war. Both sides are like, you're seeing where the structure is, right? He said the difference between a teacher and a student war and a war is both sides, when the teacher and the student are battling, both sides want the teacher to win. Because when the teacher wins, now there's structure. Now there's routine. We know what we're getting. We either know, I know this teacher's going to be strict. I know this teacher's going to be lax. But if you're different, if you're sometimes lax and sometimes strict or whatever, we feel unsafe as kids because we don't know what we're going to get. All kids are fucking adaptable. Okay.
Yeah. When
they know the structure they're in, even if it's my mom is drunk in the other room, and so I have my own food, they adapt to it and they understand what they're going to get. They understand, I have to fend for myself, right? But once they know that structure, okay, good. There's a safety, even if it's uncomfortable, there's a safety in that. They feel unsafe if they're the ones who won. But if teachers ain't shit, and especially if teachers are told they ain't shit because they got white fucking skin, That's a fucking problem.
Or they're told that they ain't shit in other ways by their administrators stepping all over their toes, the district asking for things that are completely counterintuitive to what's needed with the kids in the classroom. To go off Thomas Sowell, I read his last book, Charter Schools and Their Enemies, and there's this. He studied. He took data from these networks of charter schools in the New York area. And what he found was he only paid attention to the charter schools that were in the same exact building as a public school. So they shared the same building. So you're talking about all these schools that are charter and public, same demographics, primarily people of color, and primarily the income of like lower than 40,000 and lower. And what he found in the charter schools was that the students were doing better when it came to testing. And in some schools, they were doing as good as the students testing in the districts where the average income of the families were around 150,000.
Wow.
So whenever I hear people talk about teachers like, oh, Nico, you could use so much more money. Yeah, the schools could use so much. I'm like, in California, we just got $6 billion. And we didn't even have to open. We just did the bare minimum to get that money. For me, it's not about the money. It's what you do with the money. And what we're doing with the money is just fucking wasteful. It's very wasteful. And if people can make magic happen for the kids in lower income areas with less money and politics trying to bring down charter schools, and I'm not saying that charter schools are better. I argue for just school choice, not charter schools over everything. But if they're doing more with less money, why are we not just looking at them and just being like, what are you doing? We're all wanting the kids to win. If you really do, you'll see the people that are making waves. You'll ask them and take notes and see what you can take in. This whole, I don't know. I've in my first year of experience, there was so much excuse making. I mean, the second I walked into my school, there is a picture of a child sitting at a table with an apple, and at the bottom it says, "Good attendance leads to child sitting at a table," and then a good high school, and then graduating from college, and then it shows a kid with a briefcase getting a good job. And I'm like, that's your poster that you see the second you walk out here? I wouldn't want to do shit too. How does that motivate any kid? It's such a bare minimum of reaching the child. It's sad. It's very sad.
What should it be in your opinion?
What should the poster be? I don't know. I probably wouldn't have.
Should the goal be getting a job that you love? Should it be expanding your mind? Should it be learning about what you love, being a part of a community of students and teachers learning together? What should it be?
That's a very good question. I would say the end game should always just be the child is thrilled whenever they're curious and they know what to do with that curiosity. Explore. That's it. That's not, I mean, yeah, you can take that in any direction. Like, oh, I love weed. Now let's do meth. But it's, for the majority, it's just going to be like, hey, I'm really interested in, I built a birdhouse with my dad. How far can I take this? And then it's that for me is it. I need those kids to recognize curiosity when it comes and know that they have the tools to get better at whatever that curiosity is, if it ends up being something they enjoy. Making money, you can do that, but that's coming off cultivation of you as an individual, which I don't think I can teach. I can model. I hope to I model, but I can't teach that. And I got a whole set of books that were given by the district attempting to teach that, because the latest craze, the latest silver bullet is social emotional learning. And it's week by week curriculum of how to teach kids gratitude, anti-bullying, some other cliche, and how to teach it and how to have these structured discussions. And it's like, that never works, but you give us money, so we'll teach it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I think you're right. I mean, I think ultimately there's a lot of people who get amazing degrees who also turn into absolute shit after school. So it doesn't even a good degree doesn't necessarily spell, you know.
Yeah, it doesn't. It's a bargaining chip. I just view my master's as a poker chip. That's it. The second I get out the door, I can play with more money. But I had a brother who's making way more than I do, and he never finished college. So I was always cognizant of work ethic is the X factor. But why is it that we value education? Because at the end of it, I'm kind of mad that I didn't take learning seriously when I was in school. My guess is that learning was never marketed well in schools, or at least the love of learning was never marketed well in schools. What is your thought on it?
Ask the question again.
Why is it that we still value education? And for me, I'm mad that I didn't love learning, reading, and writing when I was in school. I mean, better late than never, but
I mean, I'm in school right now, and
Oh, you are?
Yeah, I'm in college for audio production.
There you go, man. Good shit.
Yeah. And mostly the reason why I'm doing it is so that I can audio produce, you know? And the learning stuff happens afterwards. The pride of I just beat the fuck out of that paper, you know, happens afterwards. The self-esteem of, oh, I guess I am smart. Interesting. I guess because for years I told myself bullshit that I wasn't book smart. I'm street smart, I'm emotional smart, blah, blah, blah. But I told myself the lie that I'm not book smart. Turns out that's a complete fucking bullshit because I got a 4.0.
There you go.
So yeah. But that happens afterwards. I think that for me, at my experience right now anyway, is I'm going into it because I want the poker chip. You know what I mean? And I also want the autonomy. I think autonomy for me is a big reason why I'm in there too. The maybe the reason why we still value is because it's at least a better shot of a fully formed human, emotional, spiritual, mental, whatever you want to call it, a fully formed adult. There's a better shot at it if you have both the curriculum lessons as well as the life lessons of studying, working hard, learning, community, blah, 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 blah.
Do you let that kid, so do you let like elementary school and high school Peter Feliciano continue to just go his own path? Because in my head, I think about if I were running into me in elementary school and high school, I always took class seriously enough to get on the bare minimum of the honor roll. But I love video games. I didn't like exercising at all. I thought chicken nuggets and rice was all I needed in life. Now I eat healthier. I love exercising. I don't think I would be able. I don't think there's a teacher alive that could have made me see what I see now. And I worry about the kids who have a much more tumultuous childhood. Because do you think you could have said it, or do you think there was something a teacher or any adult in your life could have done to just make things click, or you just had to live it?
No, I mean, I think I had to live it, but I disagree. I disagree with you on that. I think there would have been a teacher because yes, you and I have the impetus, you and I have the desire to better ourselves in these ways. But where were you and I both have teachers now? Thomas Sowell.
Yeah.
You know, Joe Rogan when he was, you know, whatever, when he was important, you know, from, you know, like Patrice O'Neill. I reach out to these people and I find my own motherfucking teachers and I deep dive into whatever subjects are important to me. Right. So part of it is, but those are for free on the fucking internet. You know, Thomas Sowell's book is, you know, 10, 12, 15 bucks on Audible. That's all easily accessible. So yes, it is up to us. But I kind of feel like the reason why I was more able or willing to learn those things and better myself is because it was modeled for me by those motherfuckers. Mm-hmm. There is a way to better your food. There is a way to better your mind. There is a way to speak up about identity politics. There is a way to that. There is, because it was modeled. And when my brain saw whatever thing fit that perfect hole, square peg, round hole, whatever. When the fucking round peg was available to me, I still had to step forward into the peg, fit the hole, or whatever the fuck. I'm trying to figure this out. But it still had to be modeled for me.
Mm-hmm.
It still had to be modeled for me. I still had to have structure. I still had to somebody go like, you're missing out, kid. Hey, what are you doing? Hey, no, don't do this. Hey, do this. Do you want this? The breadth of opportunity had to be made available to me. And also, I think those students, everybody learns in different fucking ways.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I hope that we're doing a better job now than we were. John Cleese again talks about how there's a school of thought that there are 9 different learning.
Yeah, different learning styles.
Right. And back in the day, he said that the English school system only worked on 2. You know what I mean? Math and logic, and maybe kinesthetic, things like that. Yeah. So hopefully we're doing a better job at those, right? Of those 9 or whatever, if that's even, But I definitely know that. I mean, look at how hard drug dealers work.
Yeah,
work hard.
Yeah,
the good ones work real fucking hard and do some. I mean, you could even call it brave.
yeah, you can.
You could even call it brave. So it's not that they lack on work ethic.
Yeah,
it's what's modeled and what's opportune and what's especially modeled not just in actual physical where your body goes and what your wallet does. I'm saying modeled as in here's what's available to you. What strikes a chord? Oh, money works for you? Great. There were people, as Michael Jordan talks about, there were people better at basketball than Michael Jordan in high school. But Michael Jordan worked his fucking ass off to be the best that ever was. It was those. Larry Elder also talks about it. Did you see that wonderful talk he did in? I can't remember where, but it's like a 20-minute clip. He talks about lots of different things. He talks about his relationship with his father.
No, I was gonna. I think the last thing I saw of an interview he did was with trigonometry. That's about it. I haven't followed Larry Elder in a minute. But go ahead and continue what you're saying.
Well, one of the things he talked about is how he grew up with this guy. They lived a couple blocks from each other, went to the same school, had the same teachers, had the same. They both grew up in shit. His father couldn't get jobs. He said he grew up in the South and it was racist, fucked up. So he decided to go to LA, and he said his father faced just as much, if not more, racism in LA. But California. And obviously this was the 60s, 50s, whatever. But anyway. He said his father worked his ass to the fucking bone for his kids, right? And so they both had Larry and this guy had the exact same life, but Larry had a father. Larry had it modeled. Larry had structure. He was mad at his dad because his dad was a bit of an asshole. His dad was a bit of an asshole, but but Larry had structure. And even though they both had that, this guy, non-Larry, was a great athlete, right? He was kicking ass in every single every single sport. He just would dominate in football, dominate in wrestling, dominate in whatever. But the guy who was dominating in sports was also a complete piece of shit. And he would rub it in people's faces, and he was not easy to work with. The coaches couldn't work with him. They tried to coach him, but he was a coach killer, as Larry put it. So when the college scout came and asked about this guy who was dominating his sport, the coaches were honest and were like, yeah, he's a fucking coach killer. He's an asshole. And so the college scout was like, okay, we'll get with somebody else.
Yeah.
Right?
It's huge.
So, it's huge. And then this guy said, well, I'm fucked then. They don't give me the opportunity, blah, blah, blah. And then so this guy fucked sports, fuck this, fuck that, and went a completely different direction, put on a goddamn dashiki and got into drugs and alcohol while Larry went to fucking college.
Yeah.
Now Larry's a winner and this guy's a loser. And yet he's still in the hood. He's still in the hood teaching all these younger cats coming up. They can't make it because of racism. They can't make it because of racism. When in reality, it's because he was a fucking asshole. It was because he's an asshole, and he was an asshole because the people around him didn't give him the fucking structure and tell him and teach him fatherhood, God damn it, is the main factor. Thomas Sowell talks about it at length. Fatherhood is the main fucking, and what is fatherhood? To men anyway, it's a masculinity, it's a focus, it's an ideal, it's a structure. It may be uncomfortable. It may be, you may fight with your father physically, mentally, whatever. But it's something there that shows you there is another way. Here's what you focus on if you want to be a motherfucking winner, right?
Yeah.
Women cannot do that for us. They just can't.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I was reading this book called Them Before Us, where it's just, you can extend that whole family dynamic of people are trying to be more accepting of all types of families. Well, the gay family, the two gay dads, the single father, the single mother, the XXX, whatever. These are all families and they're perfectly normal. That's cool that we accept that, but to dismiss that it has any effect on the child's development. It told this one story of a girl who's had two moms, and I think she was a test tube baby. It's either she was a test tube baby or it was a donor. I can't remember, but this girl every day in her childhood would look up at the sky when a plane passed and would imagine her dad being on that plane. She loved her parents, her two moms, loved them, and best relationship ever. You cannot stop the biology of desiring that connection of the father. And if we had an epidemic of single fathers, we'd be like, yo, what's up with all these guys starting fights over dumb shit all the time? Oh, there's no mothers in these households. It's a balance, and I don't know. I agree with you. I think I'm very cynical about influencing change. And maybe you're right about having the people model. I guess I don't. People forget that there's being a teacher is not limited to the schools. It's just not. List who were the adults in your life that really showcased the possibility of a better you. I can probably less than five. But there were a lot of adults that taught structure. They didn't influence me and all that. But if I swore or was just being rude, they'd be like, that's fucked up. Don't do that. I had an uncle when I walked into a guest house. I had my headphones in high school, and he took it off and he's like, that's rude. I don't like that guy. But I will always remember the reverence you have to have going into someone else's home. Yeah, that's interesting.
But if you're unwilling to have that conversation, that's the thing about our decisions. I think when you don't have that conversation, it makes it easier to not have it next time.
Yeah. And I don't know. If I ran into adults that genuinely showed me the benefits of good fitness through modeling. My dad was always doing karate and martial arts. Didn't give a shit until I was an adult. Sometimes they will exactly model what you need in your life, which you totally appreciate now. And at the time you're just like, fuck that shit.
Right. You weren't ready when you weren't ready. But maybe that influence is exactly what helped you get into health and fitness now, because you became ready.
Yeah, no, I know you're right. I just don't feel that powerful, I guess. No, I mean, I'm in an industry where all these teachers just pat each other on the back and circle jerk that we are the beacon of light in this kid's life. And I'm always saying to them, I get 5 hours of their time. Do I really have the ego that I have more influence than what they're doing with that other 19 hours a day, where they're running into way more closer? Their uncles are close, their coaches, the teachers No, I'm not that guy. And I don't want to be that guy because I feel like that's when you're going on a power trip as a teacher.
Touche. Right. Yeah, you're right. I'm not saying that all wrestling won. Maybe Hillary was right this one time by saying that it really is. It's a village. It takes a village, in some ways.
We've gotten away from it.
Unfortunately, she meant fuck fathers. Let's let's the village for her meant give government money, but it still does, take a village in some way.
Yeah.
How are you doing on time?
I'm doing fine, man. I did want to ask you a question before I go, for sure, though.
Oh no, for sure. Can we pause because I have more I want to dig into a little bit, and then maybe.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, because I got to like a motherfucker.
Go ahead.
All right, I'll be right back.
Are you gonna keep the recording going?
Oh yeah, why are you doing that? Hang on.
I was like, you're gonna just edit that out. It'll work for you.
I know that is true. All right, hang on.
I'm gonna stand up for the rest of this.
Okay. All right. Part 2. I am all peed out.
Is this live? Live? Are you streaming it, or is it just live?
No.
Got it.
Although this does have the ability for me to do that later on, which is a cool.
Nice.
So what were the other things towards? We'll start wrapping up. In this experience of your first year, obviously you had a lot of frustrations. What was the main, at the very base of it? What do you feel like it is?
I just was not satisfied with how public schools were just so satisfied with themselves. And I don't like going as far as saying public schools are broken, the public schools are a broken system. I'm more about it's terribly inefficient, and the lack of growth is because, one, public schools monopolized education. The parents don't really have much choice. You live in a certain place, you go to this school. You don't got choice in where you want to go. So what motivation is there to make adjustments if you have no competition? You have the biggest you have the most political clout out of probably any party in or institutional body in America with the teachers unions, and you have guaranteed money coming to you, even if you don't have a student at your school. Like it's from the people paying taxes in the area. I wouldn't want to change either. And a lot that results in schools making the safest picks, sometimes the most out of touch picks, or the pick that'll get them the most money when it comes to the decisions of what's carried out. And it's a lazy ass product when it comes out to the kids. And they know it, they can smell it. And there's individual teachers who can smell it too. And then there's teachers that can smell it, but they've got a comfy job. Why would you want to rock the boat when I got guaranteed pay raise every year, benefits, and a retirement? I wouldn't want to say anything either. I ran into people who had like student loan debts in the hundreds of thousands. I definitely wouldn't say anything if my debt was depending on that. So there's so many ways that teachers are left quiet. And they like to think it's because of a lack of money, but it's, as the theme of our conversations, it's because things are way more complicated. There's a lot of things, but it doesn't help that you don't want to look at yourself in the mirror and see the blemishes.
Right.
Yeah.
I had long conversations with a friend of mine who's a teacher. She's been on the show. She's if you want to go look up that episode, boys and girls, it's anonymous San Francisco teacher.
I remember that one. I'd actually listened to that one.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You should listen to everyone. You horrible racist. But in that conversation, or maybe in other ones, we talked about how she had that experience of public school and she had the experience of private school. And the same thing goes, you're talking about charter schools or school choice. When a kid knows, there's a cultural shift when a kid knows they can be kicked out.
Yeah.
They can be kicked out. you come to the school a little more ready. It doesn't mean that there's no disciplinary actions. It doesn't mean that there's no suspensions or whatever, but you come to school knowing, oh, this is dependent upon my work. This is dependent upon my behavior, right? And maybe that same thing happens with teachers when they come to school knowing it doesn't really matter what I do, especially I'm tenured or I'm this, I'm that, or whatever.
Yeah, tenured too. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm built in. Now, does that mean that they live well or lavishly? No, not necessarily. You know, she told stories of buying her own, supplies and shit like that and whatever. But also, I would say, I mean, she, as an example, had the thought. She wanted to be a teacher. She wanted to do that. She has that in her body to do that work. You seem like somebody who is genuinely interested in doing that work and helping the kids and whatever that is. Yeah. So where along the line does that disconnect happen? Where is it jadedness that makes the majority of them go, well, these kids, this is different than I thought it would be. Both from a structure down and from a kids up, this is different than I thought it would be. I thought it would be like Dangerous Minds, where I come in and show that, you know, Shakespeare's just like rapping. Like, where's the disconnect? Do you feel like
for those teachers?
For the teachers who care, yeah.
Oh, for the teachers, the disconnect is just in. Wait, the disconnect from the peers or the curriculum?
Sure, both. Either way, what makes them stop giving a fuck enough to change things? What makes them, like you said, try to be a good student?
I think it's just training. Like I think that's something they always were when it came to classrooms. I'd like to believe that the teachers that are similar to me, and I hope that we're still very different in our approaches in the classrooms, we're fine with asking as many questions as possible, as hard questions as possible, and we're fine with getting B's or C's and working for those C's. The good student, if you were a good student all through your career of I'm just doing the work, get the A's, don't ask any hard questions, give them the answers they want, that's just ingrained in you. And then when it comes time to be in that classroom, you expect everyone to be the same. Even when I was going through graduate school, I had this, me and my close friend were the only people pressing the teachers, not like trying to zing them, but asking them questions that put them in weird spots that made the discussion feel challenging. We had a classmate that literally said, when in response to what do you want to do next as a class, she just said, I just don't want to debate. I really don't. I don't feel like debating. I don't like that. Anything but that. And then everyone else would be on their computer the whole time. And it's like, if this is how you act as a student, your classroom is gonna, and this is what I hate to say, they're probably gonna be good teachers in the job description sense. They're probably gonna be good, but that's the bare minimum it requires. But I know the truth. I've seen the truth. When it comes to a classroom and you're a student, you are a bystander. You are not active at all. You are not doing anything outside of the homework assignments to develop your own understanding of the world and yourself. You're a fraud. I really felt like I understood why rappers be like, yo, these fake ass rappers out here. Mm-hmm. I get it. And I'm sure you have it when it comes to your work with music. Like, these fake ass, they ain't really about that life of music. I can smell it in their songs, and I can smell it in their lessons, because their lessons are pre-made scripts that are given to us by the district. I taught, for example, historical fiction. I'm supposed to teach historical fiction to the kids. I read a novel that took place in the Dark Ages, and I loved that shit. And I chose to teach that. And I took a risk because it's kind of for sixth graders, but I talked to fourth graders, and the fourth graders love it. And when I talk to my colleagues, they're like, well, what are you doing for I said, what are you doing for historical fiction? Oh, I'm teaching a book about, World War II, the concentration camps with the Jews. And I'm like, wait, you're teaching that? And she's like, well, it's the book that was given by the district. And if you're resting on that for your reason to teach, not because you read a book in your free time and you loved it, my lesson, I'm willing to bet 10 times out of 10 goes farther than yours ever will. And it's so easy to just get the script and do it. I got yelled at when I was a teacher student, going through a teacher student when I was underneath someone, because I skipped a step in the script. I had to teach a lesson that was pre-made. The whole entire year was pre-made. And if I skipped a step, you fucked up the whole lesson. Doesn't matter if they had fun with the diversion you went for. I don't give a shit. We need data. So to me, I become disconnected with those people because it feels like I'll never, you're not vulnerable. I see teacher, I don't see you.
Mm-hmm.
And the students can feel that, like, they'll never know you. And that doesn't mean share all your secrets with them, but you're resting on your credential to gain the respect of your students when you should just rest on who you are. I hate that. I really hate that.
And I would also venture to say that I think this might piss off some people. I don't care. I think you're the exception. I would say that the majority of teachers these days, especially in California, are either going to be women or meek men. Am I correct in that assumption?
I always, when people talk about like representation, and even with a student, I had a student tell me, "You're one of the best male teachers I've ever had," and I said immediately, "I hope it's because I'm the best teacher, not because I'm the male." Sure. And I am very thankful for certain women in my professional career who really believed in me and taught me lessons. I remember I had the chairman of a department at a local college say to me straight up, "Nico, I like more males getting into this industry because it means more money for all of us. Because you know who's not asking for money? Women." And I was like, "You can't say that." But it blew my mind because it's just, she was so matter of fact. It's like, I hate to say it, women aren't asking for the pay raises in this business. Mm-hmm. And if men ask for more money, then they ask for more money, we get money. So I always try to remember them who helped me. It's not, I don't think, it's women who are running in the powerful positions in this institution, but I don't know. I think their ideology is not because they're a woman. I think it's because the incentive set up kind of encourage that shit.
Touche. But in general, women are more emotionally charged, and thank God that they're there, because we do need someone to kiss the boo-boos. We do need someone who's more nurturing. And let's be frank, women do molest less, not none, but they do molest less. So it makes sense for them to be the majority. But as an example, my that friend told me that like the lady that she likes is, and that same thing we talked about in that conversation, me and her, but like on that episode, the lady that she likes is like a tough ass broad, you know, what I mean? Willing to get into the muck with you. She's not, if she believes something, she's willing to have uncomfortable conversations. Yeah. The person who annoyed her the most was not even the quieter type A, whatever type of women, but is the guy who's the principal at the school, the private school now, who's just like reactionary. Just things happen and he falls along, like, oh, he's not jumping into it. He's not giving a fuck. Give a fuck, I believe, whether it be podcasting, music, just like you're saying, give a fuck is an intangible, but subconscious, we all feel it. We all know when someone gives a fuck about what they're doing, right? and it manifests physically, emotionally, conversationally. It manifests, but I think it manifests oomph. I think it manifests on a bodily belly level. We get whether even if I disagree with somebody, I can tell, okay, they're coming, they thought about this, they know what they're doing. Okay, all right, I'm down. But like this guy, this principal doesn't give a fuck. He's not in it because he cares about what he's doing. And I'm not saying everybody needs to do it because they wanted to help the children. I'm saying you give a fuck about what you're doing, regardless of why. And again, that goes to I think men in general, meeker men in general are what's that phrase from the are lukewarm, and I think it's from the Bible. You're lukewarm in my mouth, and I want to spit you out. Like it's abhorrent to everybody. It's abhorrent to everybody. We don't know why. I think of you, and I know why. I think about it a lot, and I accentuate it, or I articulate it because I explore and want to get into it. Why? But it's abhorrent. It's unattractive to everybody, right?
Yeah.
And I think it's because of that uncomfortable conversation thing, you know.
Yeah.
Let's start wrapping up. How do you see things? Let's get into a solution. What do you think is part of the solution, or parts of the solution going forward?
I really think that I'm on board. I've done enough research where I think school choice is the solution. In that, like I was saying, public schools got you. They just got you. You live near us, you go to us. And you talk about how students will, if I can get kicked out, I got some skin in the game. I can't afford to lose this. But that goes to the parents too, because now they're going to the school that they want their child to go to. That's a huge difference from the school that their child has to go to. So now you got the parents being like, yo, we got you into this school. We like this school. Don't fuck it up. That results in everyone winning. And the analogy I like to say, from Corey DeAngelis, I'll quote him, is, look, if Walmart closes, it's not and it was structured like public school. If Walmart closes, then there's no one else to go. But it's not like that. If Walmart closes and they decide to be on strike and not serve anyone, you can take your money and go somewhere else. So why not fund not the schools, but fund the families? Give them a certain amount that they can use, like vouchers for whatever school they would like to go to, private or charter, to help that family in lower income areas pay. Because guess what? Middle income and higher income people already have school choice. They already have that. So if you really want to equalize the game, get these kids and these families the resources to go to the school that will do best for their kid. It could be a public school. It could be another charter. It could be a private, but let them have the choice. And I mean, in the end, like, I don't see what the harm is in that, but always the harm is framed, well, public schools are not going to get enough money. We just got $6 billion. Like, how much more do we need? And if there's, again, schools doing more with less, why can't we allow them to grow? I don't know. I say school choice. And that results in, if parents start voting with their feet and being like, fuck this, I don't like what I'm seeing with critical race theory, anti-racism, I don't like what I'm just seeing, even if they're not teaching that, and this school's just jaded, I don't like this shit for my kid, that migration to other schools will result in the public schools being like, oh shit, we're not as good as we think. So they can either choose to sink or they can choose to swim, but they have a choice too.
Capitalism.
Yes. That's it. Right. So I don't, in that situation, the public schools can still win, but it's going to take work. But yeah, it's just like a prize fighter that is only fighting cans. It's like, we know what's going to happen, and you step up to the big leagues. Right. You're going to get your chin checked, and then you don't. Where's that game you were talking about when you were fighting tomato cans? Right. Yeah.
And so that's yeah, I like that. Thank you. Go ahead.
No, that's the solution. I think to because then schools can develop styles. Maybe there is a school that I have no problem with teaching kids about the history of different cultures. That's fine. It's when you weave it with a framing of disdain or condemnation of a nation. If you're genuinely just teaching Latino studies just for the sake of it, like, yo, this shit's cool, I don't have a problem with that. But if you're like, this is cool, but white people fucking suck, like, okay, now then that's bad. Schools will develop styles. Maybe there's a elementary school that's better with trade, because you know how good kids are with Legos these days. They'll blow your mind. If they had an engineering school for kids, holy shit, that's the shit that's cool to me. If you got different styles from different schools, oh, that's a wrap. I want to teach. Then as a teacher, you're even more excited. Then the teachers win, because I don't have to go to a school where it's Common Core here, Common Core here, Common Core here. No, it's like, here's our curriculum. Yes, we teach reading and writing, but we do it in ways that you want to innovate. We got you.
Oh, yeah. That's what my school is now. I have to, in order for it to be an accredited institution, it has to teach, a couple of core classes. But one of the core classes was, English or whatever. So we were writing papers about music. We were writing papers about the music industry. And so it was like, it would be the same essay with the same rules about APA citation and blah, blah, blah. But it's about something that I'm actually fucking passionate about, that the teacher's actually passionate about and experienced in. Surprise, surprise, everybody wins, right? So
yeah.
That's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Or, ladies and gentlemen, we can just continue to try the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. Or we can say, you can't make it, black people and white people, white little kids, little innocent fucking children, you're bad.
Yeah.
You want to hurt, you fucking cocksucker. You fucking cocksucker. How goddamn dare you? Look a fucking little boy in the eyes and then tell him he's a part of a system of racism. Fuck you, you horrible piece of shit. I don't give a, but I have good intentions. Suck my goddamn cock, you fuck. All right, I just needed to get it out. I'm sorry, Nico.
No, it's okay. It's okay. I got you. I know.
Before we end, you said you wanted to ask me a question.
Yeah, man. How did that setting up that Shelby Steele interview must have been huge. I would have felt nervous. I would have felt like, who am I to talk to this man?
Yeah.
I want to know just how it came into fruition, your reaction when it was accepted, your feelings afterwards. Yeah.
It was actually, I was reached out to by the publicist.
By the who?
By the PR company, by the publicist.
Wow. Mm-hmm. Good shit.
I'm famous.
No, good shit, man.
But it was really fucking nerve-wracking for sure. And I was like, and I watched the movie beforehand. Everybody go watch Who Killed Michael Brown. Great film. And getting it, because it's such a thick, and he's so knowledgeable about it and brave about that shit, because he worked for the civil rights, like back in the goddamn 60s, like he was on the front lines and then defected from what it had been perverted into. And so he's so knowledgeable about it that it was a bit like, okay, I hope I'm entertaining you.
Yeah.
Don't feel like you're lessening yourself. It was a bit of an ego hit, but it was also really an ego boost as well. I really liked that conversation. It was short, and sweet, but I felt ready enough.
That's cool. I mean, that was huge, man. I was so happy for you when I saw that, because that dude's he was my introduction into this way of thinking. So it must have been crazy. I don't know. That's crazy. I thought you just reached out to him and he responded, and you were just like, what? This is crazy.
No, I put hooks in the water all the time.
Nice.
I put hooks in the water all the time. A lot of times it's I don't get answered back, or with Camille Paglia, she's down, but she's not promoting anything right now. So hopefully she comes out with a book. She's one of my top 3. Let's put it all positivity out into the world. Conservatish fans. My top 3 would be Camille Paglia, Scott Thompson from Kids in the Hall, and Colin Quinn.
Wow.
I'm putting it out.
Runs the gamut right there.
Yes, sir. But I mean, yeah, okay, Jordan Peterson, a couple of those guys. But like they talk a lot. Camille, Scott, and Colin. I mean, Colin does talk a lot. He's prolific, but at the same time, I don't care if he wants to just make fun of me for 45 minutes.
Just roast of Peter.
I don't give a fuck if yeah, those are my top 3 dreams. But yeah, having Shelby was cool. It was really cool.
That's cool, man. That's cool. Yeah, I'm gonna try and follow your lead. Like what I'll close with this. Like again, thank you very much. I've always thought like this, but I'm terrified of putting my thoughts on the internet. I don't have any social networking, and that's to my detriment, but also to my benefit because I have a peace of mind. But I do want to share that video with not even big sources, like just the people that helped me get arrange that thinking too. And I don't know, I'm shy with that. And you like you said, you have so many hooks in the water. If you were to give me one tip on spreading or putting your message out there and reaching out to people, is it a numbers game just like telemarketing or?
Yeah, it's a numbers game just like telemarketing in a way. It's bigger guests beget bigger guests, and so you have but ultimately throughout the whole thing, I would say the main thing, I know it's cliche and it's whatever, but it's absolutely true. Be yourself. Do not, because sometimes I've had interviews where I listen back to it. I'm like, I'm trying to be this other motherfucker. I'm trying to be, a Ben Shapiro or a Steven Crowder or something like that. You know what I mean? Like, I want to be this guy. Fuck that. Your thing will be different than my thing. Whatever it is. And it will evolve and it will whatever, but follow what you want to do. You know what I mean? People who follow me don't want, like, even though it's small, they want my words. They want my ideas. They want my vibe. They want my spirit. That same thing will happen for you. Fuck what anybody else does. This is about you.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I was really worried about employment, but because that's the thing in my industry with teachers, that for me to be that, I don't know. I feel like teachers are so quick to cancel. At least in education, you hear more cancellations within the educational circles than anywhere else, I'd say. Or no? You don't agree?
I don't know. I'm not plugged in.
That's okay. But yeah, I'll take your advice and we'll see where I go with it.
To wrap up on that same topic, you ever heard, Rob ONeil, the guy who killed Osama bin Laden?
No. I mean, but I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, he has a great book. It's called The Operator. In my second round of listening to it. And one of the things he talks about is in 2006, 2007, the war over there shifted. It shifted power. And the reason why it shifted power in the direction of the Americans is before then, the Sunnis, I can't remember if it was the Sunnis were allied with the Taliban forces. The Sunnis were allied with the Taliban forces. And I can't remember if it was because they were of a different religion, or if it was the same religion. Bottom line is, you allied with them, and the only reason why the Sunnis said, "Okay, fine, fuck it, we're gonna join the coalition forces and be anti-Taliban," is because enough Taliban had been killed. They didn't agree and fight with the Taliban because they ideologically agreed. They didn't shift over because, you know what? I don't agree with killing kids, and I'm going to be against the Taliban because, by the way, Taliban were not only killing kids, would have wives and kids in the house with them, in the safe house with them, so that when the Marines were coming in to kill them, the women, one guy sent his wife out to the front door to martyr herself, his fucking wife. Okay, they had kids in the house. They could have been bombed, but they didn't give a fuck. Taliban were actually horrible. It wasn't white people that did it. It was brown skin. Someone needs to be responsible for their fucking decisions. Sorry.
Yeah.
I digress. The Sunnis didn't have a change of heart because they had a change of heart. They always disagreed with the Taliban. They had a change of heart because enough Taliban forces had been killed that they felt safe to change. That's what this is. That's what this is. I'm not saying we're martyring ourselves I'm saying it is safer to speak up because other people spoke up, because other people spoke up, because other people spoke up, because other people spoke up. Speak the fuck up, you fucking coward. If you don't want to speak up about cancel culture, I don't want to hear you motherfucking share or comment or listen to Unsafe Space or listen to me or listen to any of these shows who are anti-cancel culture because you're a bitch. You are a fucking bitch. Oh, cancel culture's crazy. Anyway, I'm going to stay quiet. Fuck you, motherfucker. I am not the battering ram, but I'm kind of willing to be the battering ram. I love you anyway. Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But the more of us who speak out, the more of us speak out.
I agree.
So don't be afraid. Just be yourself.
Absolutely, dude. Thank you for having me on the show. I appreciate that. It's good to catch up with you, and it's good to see you're in a good headspace.
Yeah. I think I go for a run. I've been boxing more. It's fun.
Nice. Are you doing sparring sessions?
A little bit. Mostly drills right now.
Yeah, I would stick to drills. I don't know. I head trauma. No, I love sparring.
I got a big dome. I don't know if it's going to take a lot to.
You got iron chin. That's awesome.
Yeah.
No.
Are you saying that because I look Chinese?
No. Maybe that would be a great nickname for an iron.
Yeah, wouldn't it be great?
Whoa, I would root for that guy immediately.
Right?
The iron chin, not racist.
Where can people find you? I know you don't have a social media, but you're on YouTube, and I'll link it. Do you know the name of it, or do you have a name?
Kuya Bubbles 34. I made it in 8th grade. Kept it, but that one video that I have that's 3 years of thinking dialed down into 5 minutes, and it is, at least as of right now, that is my lay of the land. At least my scouting report on the lay of the land of education right now, and my concerns about it, and how I'm just not going to tolerate it moving forward. Like I'm choosy about speaking out online, but when it comes to meetings and direct face-to-face where I have to listen to these ideas, I challenge it left and right, and I don't care. I am fine with being that one person at the funeral that admits that this person was an asshole. Everyone knows it, but they don't want to say that the person was an asshole. I'll do it. Whatever. Play the heel.
Yeah.
And so Kuya Bubbles 34, please like that video and share it with some friends, and I appreciate it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Wherever you're listening to Conservatish, make sure you subscribe, make sure you share this, make sure you leave a review. And again, if you're on YouTube, you better subscribe and hit the bell. Don't be a silly goose. Hit the bell. What do I mean by that? If you hit subscribe, a little bell will come up, and you can choose what level. Choose all. Okay, hit the bell. Along with that, find me on Instagram at Peter_Feliciano, and my backup account at Conservatish. Find me on Twitter at Rule62Peter, and find me on TikTok at Peter_Feliciano. And I don't know. Yeah, that's all I got right now. Thank you very much again, Nico, for doing this with me, man.
Yeah, man, I appreciate you giving me the time. Enjoy the rest of your evening.
Yeah.
3 hours out there. Yeah. Enjoy your evening, man.
I will. And you enjoy the lovely California Saturday.
Yeah, I'm gonna go outside and get some sunlight. So yeah. All right. Well, yeah. Take care.
All right, man. Have a good night.
See ya.